From Indie Game Life, I'm Will Goad, and you're listening to Half Baked, the cooking show where we bring you the latest and greatest recipes from around the cooking scene. Hang on, wrong script. And you're watching Indie Game Review, the show where we let you know if you made the right decision about picking up the latest indie games. Slightly different video today, as the game isn't actually finished. Chris actually had the pleasure of... I just used actually twice, that was horrible. Chris recently had the pleasure of playing a Kickstarter build, so while this isn't a review for the full game, we can definitely comment on the way things are shaping up. However, remember that this is an early build, and so much is likely to change, which means no number ratings will be assigned. Quick side note, if you hear music playing during this video, that's because music's playing in the background during this video, not intentional, someone's practicing. Anyways, Sword of the Necromancer is an upcoming Zelda-like action-adventure game with roguelike elements, developed by Grimorio of Games, and published by Jandu Soft SL. At the time of writing, the game has an active Kickstarter campaign, links in the description. However, they have more than doubled their initial goal, but there are still more stretch goals to unlock. The campaign runs until May the 8th, which means just one day left. 5 days when I wrote this script. Shows you how slow I am. If you enjoy this video, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, and all that jazz. If you don't, go ahead and do it anyway, because it really helps us beat the YouTube algorithm. First up, the story. Sword of the Necromancer is both a sad drama and a heartwarming love story. The game follows Tama in their efforts to bring back his beloved Coco from the dead. There exists in their fantasy world a relic powerful enough to achieve this, the titular Sword of the Necromancer. However, though it may be obtainable and even usable for necromancy, the act of bringing a human back differs greatly to monsters. And so Tama journeys further into the mysterious, ever-shifting temple to seek the necromancer that created the sword. The love aspect of this game is somewhat of an assumption though. Tama was actually Priestess Coco's bodyguard/escort, so it's possible the journey is out of a desire to uphold their promise. But breaking the laws of nature for a simple bodyguarding job seems iffy, especially for a former rogue like Tama. The full game promises to delve deeper into the relationship between the two characters, so we'll see more soon. Want to give your friends a gift of a lifetime? Send them the official Indie Game Life auto-subscribe link at tinyurl.com/IGLYT. Just pause the video, hop on your favorite messaging platform and send it to your 5 best friends. Don't worry, I won't be offended if I'm not one of your 5 best friends. Maybe a little bit, just a little bit. Now, for the graphics. The game uses a classic pixel art style, however it is the more detailed small pixel form rather than the large 8 or 16-bit graphics of the past. The character you control, Tama, has a distinctive look with pink hair and large earrings that you can see in both the portrait and the sprite. Tama also wears a cloak that appears to be affected by movement. The animation is quite smooth, walking, diving and attacking are all fluid, so they both look and feel good. Coco the priestess has long blonde hair and a white dress which makes her look very much like a fairy tale character. But the real standout, at least in this demo, are the monsters. During my time with the game, I met slimes, mages, knights, bats, and even giant mushrooms. Each creature has an interesting design and comes in multiple forms, mostly color shifts that express an elemental change. The enemies also have fluid movements, and mercifully they broadcast their attacks much like dead cells. Hold on a sec. Just gotta carry on eating my ice lolly. And mercifully, they broadcast their attacks, much like dead cells. So you are able to anticipate and avoid them. The boss at the end of the demo is a sort of plant-type creature with one large eye. To be honest, I'm not really sure what it is, but it's an interesting design. Promotional material for the game shows a number of other creatures planned that look just as interesting as the demo ones. As for the sound, the music in the game is quite enjoyable. There are only a few themes that play, mainly an exploration theme and a battle theme, but the demo is quite short, so they never outstay their welcome. That being said, if it were a longer game, I'd still enjoy both of the main themes, as they have the kind of feel of iconic game music in making. They don't sound like any specific themes I can recall, but they have similar feels to some of the early Zelda series music. However, they are probably closer to mid or even late age Zelda games because they aren't chiptune or MIDI tracks. I'm sure the full game will have a few more pieces of music, especially for bosses and other events, but what's on offer currently is still quite strong. Sound design is similarly well handled. Everything sounds somewhat like you'd expect it to, and a lot of the enemies make a noise when they see you and target you. This, in addition to the... It just hopped back to the beginning, that's just rude. As mentioned earlier, the game is a Zelda-styled action-adventure game, where something like Night and Plus is a very original Zelda-inspired game. The Sword of the Necromancer is closer to the Ancient Abyss, Sparklight or Swords of Ditto, with more fluid movement system. Rather than moving and attacking in 4 directions, the game allows free movement. However, unlike those games, the attacks seem to be 8-way directional, but locking the attacks into specified directions actually made aiming arrows a lot more simple. The difference between 8-way directional and fully free-range attack mostly comes down to preference, as they both work fine. But the main question now is, what does the game do that others don't? And the answer is necromancy. As you explore the dungeon, you'll find random weapons and equipment, things like a bow and arrow, halberd, shields, jewelry that grants buffs to your attack, or provides resistances, etc. But there is one weapon you can't change, the titular Sword of Necromancy. When you defeat an enemy, if you stand over their corpse and activate the sword, you can resurrect them and add them to one of your weapon slots. From there, you can summon the creature to fight for you. However, they do have individual health, and if they re-die, I'm not sure you can bring them back again. Honestly, I didn't think to try, so it might be possible. Gotta kill them all. I'm not sure I'm gonna leave that in. This gives the game an almost Pokemon, Coromon, or Monster Sanctuary feel. However, at least in this demo, the amount of creatures you can have is limited to 3, so you won't be able to catch them all. It may be possible in the full game to have a record of monsters, like a bestiary, or maybe a reserve to keep some of the overflow monsters in. The monsters, though, will level up as you use them, increasing their power and potentially granting them new skills too. During the demo, I just grabbed the first monsters I found and then replaced the ones that died until I ended up with a strong team. The mage I grabbed at the start managed to survive all the way to the end of the demo, so he ranked up a few times and I felt a strong affinity for him as a reliable summon. In fact, the monsters became so useful that when I fought the boss, they destroyed it in a matter of seconds. I didn't even need to attack and just dodged the boss until it opened its eye and my team destroyed it. However, combat without monsters is still fair and fun as you're able to strike and dash away before the enemy retaliates. But fighting with the monster's help is much easier. Overall, the gameplay on offer in this demo was really fun. It makes me excited to see what the game will be like in its full release, currently scheduled for Q4 2020. There were some technical issues, like full screen actually being a small screen with a large black border around it. The sound and music can only be enabled or disabled, so you can't turn it down, only off. And you can't quit the game without walking out of the temple hub screen to get back to the starting splash screen, and I only found out about that by accident. As an early demo though, the issues were very minor. None of them were game breaking, and even though it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to beat the demo, it still has more enjoyable gameplay than some full games I've played. I also mentioned that the game was a roguelike, but I didn't go into it that much. Essentially, it has procedurally generated levels, random equipment, drops, and if you die you lose all your items and monsters, but only half of your levels. So as long as you don't die again soon after, you'll have a bit of a leg up for the next run. Thank you for watching, and thank you for Chris for writing this piece. Peace out. Maybe just say thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. Okay, now on to whatever I was doing before.